Hey friends, Toby here. Hey, I wanted to let you know about a brand new offer this year. We are revamping our volunteer management fundamentals course and we are offering it live. It's called Volunteer Management Fundamentals Live. So you will have access to the course online, but also a pop-up community and 5 coaching calls with yours truly. And so it really is something unique. We don't offer this very often. In fact, this may be the last time I offer it where I'll be coaching. So I wanted to give you this opportunity to join us. We'll be going through 5 modules over 5 weeks. We're starting June 17th. And we're taking a pit stop the week of July 4th of Independence Day here in the U.S. because most people take that off. So we'll have a little bit of break. But every Thursday, we'll be meeting for coaching calls. You'll be progressing through the course. We'll be focusing on what you need to know now in today's world to lead volunteers. So if you are a beginning leader of volunteers, or you're an organization that is really looking to level up your volunteer strategy, you are going to get some pretty good insights through this course. And I'm going to have everybody work on a capstone project that helps them complete a deliverable by the end of the course that can help them move forward with their program. So you get to choose, but I'll be coaching you all the way through. So I hope you'll check it out. All you need to do is go to volpro.net/begin. That's volpro.net/begin and check out the course offer, get enrolled. We have generous discounts for teams, and I would love to see you there. Take care.
Welcome to the Volunteer Nation podcast, bringing you practical tips and big ideas on how to build, grow, and scale volunteer talent. I'm your host, Tobi Johnson, and if you rely on volunteers to fuel your charity, cause, membership, or movement, I made this podcast just for you. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Volunteer Nation podcast. I'm your host, Tobi Johnson, and today I want to get back to basics. I want to talk about how to create a volunteer thank you note, how to do it well, why it's important, the mistakes people make, all of the things. We're going to do it in this episode. I'm going to give you your quick guide to better volunteer thank you notes. Think about the last time you received a written note, a note of thanks, whether it was a card, a handwritten note. I'm not talking about emails, and I'm not talking about mass-produced things. I'm talking about something that was especially written with you in mind. I just got one last weekend. We had a volunteer get together at my house, and I'm meeting with a bunch of friends of mine who I volunteer with. We're a great team together, and I'm going to be moving back to the West Coast. And so we wanted to have a little bit of a goodbye party. And one of the volunteers who came, I was on the executive committee on the board for a while with, and also had volunteered with her in different other ways and had helped out whenever she asked. And, fellow volunteer, wonderful person, and just gave me a card that was so sweet that really expressed her appreciation for me, and I will save it. I will treasure it. It will come with me in my move. And when you write these kinds of notes to people, don't be surprised if they keep them. Many of us have kudos files, or just we like to keep good news around us, and it keeps a good vibe going. And you maybe not be surprised that as you start to write thank you notes on a regular basis, if you make it part of your regular workflow every week, you yourself will start to feel more gratitude because you are actually priming your own brain to give gratitude, and you will start seeing ways to thank people, and you'll start seeing ways that people are giving to your organization. So it is also a mindset shift for you. It's kind of an interesting double whammy there when we do our volunteer thank you notes on a regular basis. Last week on the pod, I talked about bringing the fun back into volunteerism. Check out Volunteer Nation episode 215, 5 ways to boost the fun factor for community volunteers. Check that out if you want to hear more about just creating a better culture for volunteerism at your nonprofit. But this week, I want to talk about the feel goods. If you want your volunteers to be fully appreciated, to feel like they're fully appreciated and recognized, you do not need to spend a lot of money on gifts. You don't need to spend a lot of money on big events and luncheons and galas and all of these things. You don't need to. You can write thank you notes, and they're like the least expensive thing to do. All it takes is your time and consideration, a piece of paper or a card. Maybe you get a bunch of thank you cards on sale on clearance and some stamps. And that's really all it takes. It's really that easy. So in this episode, I want to break down how to write a good volunteer thank you note that's thoughtful, personal, meaningful. I don't want you to be stumped on this. We're not brought up. Some of us are brought up. Our moms taught us how to write thank you notes, but a lot of us haven't. And learning simple habits, I'm going to give you some writing prompts and just help your volunteers feel seen, heard, appreciated, like they're not just a cog in the wheel. They're just not a pair of hands. They're actually a human being doing. And so, this is one of the most powerful and most underused volunteer appreciation and retention strategies. When volunteers feel like they are an important part of the picture, they're going to stay longer and they're going to be more productive. So today I want to simplify this process and show you how to make volunteer thank you notes easier, faster, and far more meaningful than just our generic. I'm going to get into it here. Most of you know volunteer appreciation matters, but many of you have not been taught how to write a thank you note. So let's get into it. A generic, and we're going to get into this. I'm going to teach you my framework and I'm going to give you a free tool at the end. One of the things I want to just differentiate here between the thank you notes I'm going to talk about and the ones that I see a lot out there. The generic, thanks for all you do. We couldn't do it without our volunteers. Those blanket statements are not what I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about blanket statements. I'm talking about personalized notes to each individual volunteer. And we want to create these lasting connections. Now, you may think, well, we have thousands of volunteers or hundreds of volunteers. There's no way I'm going to make this happen on a regular basis. Well, you can enlist the help of coworkers. You can get a volunteer thank you team. You can also just start doing it. Just do 5 or 10 volunteer thank you notes a week, and pretty soon you will have made it through most of your volunteers. You may also be wondering, well, I don't know each of my volunteers individually. Well, guess what? You don't have to. You can actually set up a very simple Google Sheet that just asks your coworkers, look, I need to know what volunteers are contributing, and I would love it if you could help me by posting some kudos in here that I can put in a thank you note. The other thing you could do is train a whole team to do this, all of your supervisors, and make it an expectation that each of them send out a few thank you notes a week. So there's lots of ways to do this. You could get together a pizza party where you're writing thank you notes all evening when you're eating pizza. Lots of ways to do this. But, the right volunteer thank you note can turn a casual volunteer into a lifelong advocate for your organization. Think about that for a minute. The right volunteer thank you note can turn a casual supporter into a lifelong advocate for your nonprofit. So is it worth it? I think so. So, many volunteers feel invisible, like they're behind the scenes, that they're just a cog in the wheel. They're just filling shifts. They're just another person. They wonder, did my work matter? Did anybody even notice? Am I even making a difference here? And these volunteer thank you notes answer those questions directly. Yes, you're making a difference. Yes, you matter here. Yes, we see you. And we want every volunteer to have that feeling. We are hardwired for acknowledgement and belonging. Thank you notes let our volunteers know, yes, you are part of our team. You are part of our clan. It's hardwired into our DNA to feel like we want to belong. And the more we feel like we want to belong, the more we're going to contribute pro-social behavior to a group. Gratitude also creates a community culture. So, when we're expressing gratitude, we are doing some of the things that create a better team culture. So gratitude is one of those things. Recognition also inspires word of mouth recruitment, because if people feel like they're well taken care of and they are recognized and seen for what they're contributing, they'll be more likely to refer other people because you know what? This is a great place to volunteer because people really do appreciate what we do here. So all of those things are giving you this ripple effect from these simple expressions of gratitude from one person to another on a very personal level. It can also help people prevent burnout. And you're like, well, how does it do that? Well, one of the reasons people become burned out is not because they're working too hard. Think about the times where you've been in flow and you just completely are excited about what you're doing and your head's down and you never feel tired by that because you're in flow. So when volunteers feel a sense of control over their destiny, they're less likely to become burned out. So, we want to, as I kind of hinted about earlier, we want to discern between generic versus meaningful thank you and gratitude. So volunteer generic is, again, like I said, thanks for volunteering. Meaningful will be something like this. You made nervous first-time attendees feel welcome the minute they walked in. Thank you so much. Now, that's about the characteristics or the skills or the value add that volunteer brought to the table. It's more meaningful than, we love our volunteers. We can't live without them. Well, yeah, okay, right? So think about the best thank you note or note of appreciation you've ever received. Just think about that for a minute. What made it memorable? Do you still have that note around somewhere in your files? You might have gotten a note from a volunteer or a fellow coworker or a friend or a family member. Why does it matter? I remember for my birthday recently, my nephew, he's in his mid-20s. And it always surprises me. I'm like a woman of a certain age, right? He's a young man, has a career, just got married. He's a busy guy. I'm like, he doesn't have time for his auntie. Well, I get a thank you. Oh, actually, it wasn't a thank you. It was a birthday card with a little Starbucks card in it. Just 'cause. Just 'cause. He said, I love you and I can't wait to be living near you. And, made my day. I still have that card. I need to use that Starbucks card. I need to use that right away. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest mistakes in thank you notes really quickly. Biggest mistake, mistake number one is being too generic. And I've kind of talked about this already. Generic praise feels like copy and paste. Does anybody want a copy and paste message? Not really. Volunteers can tell when, it lacks sincerity. And broad statements don't reinforce any desired behaviors either. When I gave that example of you made nervous first-time attendees feel welcome the minute they walked in, you know what? That person's going to keep doing that. They're going to keep building rapport at your events. They're going to keep saying hello. They're going to keep being warm and friendly because they see that people noticed. So, second mistake, waiting too long. Timing does matter emotionally. If you can give people thanks the next day, it's much more impactful than 6 months from now. The closest it is to the act, the more it reinforces that act. Delayed gratitude, sort of like delayed gratification, feels less connected. So timeliness matters. Mistake number 3, focusing only on tasks. Focusing only on tasks. Don't just describe what they did. Describe how it made people feel, right? Did it calm people down? Did it make people feel less nervous? Did it bring some giggles to everybody? Did people feel relieved? Did it keep people calm? Whatever they were doing. And maybe it was you that, hey, every time you are on time and even earlier, and I never worry that the things aren't going to get done. It just calms me down. Like I just feel a sense of calm when you're in the office. That's okay to put that as well. It doesn't have to be something that is specific to an impact on a client. Now, even remotely, wouldn't it be great? Don't send emails, send people handwritten notes. So you can say, I know being a remote volunteer may make you feel a little disconnected. Please know from me that I appreciate XYZ that you did or XYZ that you are, and know that I see you even though you're miles away from me. See how that is? All of a sudden, remote volunteering suddenly feels closer, right? Focus on outcomes and impacts as well. But it can't be all about the data. It's got to be about the emotions. Mistake number 4 is only recognizing those star volunteers, the superstars, the ones that put in 50, 40, 30 hours a week. Well, you know what? Not everybody is a person of means. Not everybody can take all that time off work. Not everybody has additional time on their calendar. So just because someone gives a lot of time doesn't mean they're any better than anybody else. So quiet, dependable volunteers are often overlooked. People who give 2 or 3 hours a month, but they've been doing it for months, right? Consistency deserves recognition. Small acts of service matter. And you know what? When people take that step into doing something that makes them nervous, maybe when they're transitioning from training into actual service, that's a great time for a thank you note. Hey, I know you were nervous about getting started, but you know what? We see you. We see the effort you're putting in. It can be for effort or accomplishment. It doesn't have to be either or, and it doesn't have to only be for superstar volunteers. Mistake number 5 is saving appreciation for Volunteer Appreciation Week. You know what? Let's do other things too. And let's make appreciation something we do year round, not something that is only done because it's set in stone that we do it this time of year. So I also have some more on volunteer recognition. If you want to think outside of just volunteer thank you notes, check out Volunteer Nation episode 176, Beyond Pizza Parties, Innovative Appreciation Ideas for Volunteers. I recorded this one a while ago, and it's still really, really relevant. So if you probably now you're thinking, well, wait, what else can we do? Well, check out that podcast or that episode. You'll see what you can do. All right, let's take a pause from my quick tips, my quick guide on how to develop and create and write better volunteer thank you notes. And after the break, I'm going to give you my formula. I'm going to give you some copywriting tips. Also going to give you a free tool. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Hey friends, have you ever felt overwhelmed and unable to focus on the right things at the right time? Maybe you're not even sure where to put your time and energy to get the most traction with your volunteer program. Well, guess what? We've got a tool that can help you. It's called the Volunteer Strategy Scorecard. In about 3 minutes, you can get a PDF report that helps you understand where your gaps are, where you can focus energy to get big traction, and what your maturity levels are across 5 domains of volunteer engagement. It's a super cool tool. It's taken us a while to get it out, so I'm really excited it's finally found its way into the world. I hope you'll check it out. Just click on the link inside the show notes or in the link in the comments below and get started. Again, it only takes 3 minutes, and then you can get a lot of clarity on your next steps. Okay, we're back with my top tips on how to write better volunteer thank you notes. Going to give you some real tips as well as a step-by-step framework and some copywriting tips. And of course, as I promised before, I'm going to give you some instructions on how to access a free tool. Okay, so let's talk about the 6 ingredients for better thank you notes. First is to make it personal. So use the volunteer's name naturally. Right? Do it in a natural way. Mention a moment that maybe they don't think anybody's watching. Mention something that they are more likely to recognize and other people wouldn't even notice. That makes it really powerful because it's like, wow, they're watching. Okay. Personal details show genuine attention. So the thank you note that I got from my fellow volunteer was about my strategic planning skills. Now, I did this strategic planning workshop. Well, it wasn't a workshop. It was facilitated our strategic planning in our group for a few years. They kept asking me to come back, and I say, okay, I'll come back. I mean, I do it for a living, right? But I wanted to contribute that to my group. And she said to me, you are the best strategic planner I have ever worked with. And you are a volunteer. And I go, well, I do it for a living, but it was just a compliment of my skill set, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed hearing that because I don't hear it very much. So it was pretty good. So make sure you have some personal
details in there. Their personality, their energy, their reliability, leadership, compassion, problem-solving skills, interpersonal skills, anything bright and shiny demeanor. I mean, funny, whatever that they bring to the table that's unique about them. You want to mention that in this thank you note. Again, be specific. I talked about that before the break. The more detailed the praise, the more genuine it feels. So we want to be really detailed in what, the way that you greeted every guest, or the way you worked that gala table where we were doing the silent option and people were writing checks, and you were just so efficient, and you were able to be efficient while you were writing up receipts and you were smiling. You get into it, right? I saw how quickly you were working and, dealing with, even when we had a problem with our little square card on our iPad and we're having a hard problem processing credit cards, you quickly jumped to it and figured it out. That's specific praise, right? Small observations mean the most. Also, just the deft way you managed folks that were tending to be a little bit grumpy, you're just good at it. We appreciate it so much. You really made our gala work so much smoother, right? These things are important. So a couple of other examples. I noticed you staying behind to help the new volunteer feel comfortable. Or I like this one. I noticed that you often stay behind to be part of the cleanup crew, even when it's not your assignment. I really appreciate that you go above and beyond every time. Or I noticed that you picked up after everybody and you just make sure everything's tidy after you're done with the arts and crafts room or whatever, right? Whatever extra mile that they go, that's a good thing to appreciate as well. Or you handled a difficult situation with incredible patience, right? Like sometimes our elders with dementia act out. And you know what? You never seem to be, you just take a breath and you just just take it in and don't let it bother you personally. That is the hallmark of a really good community care volunteer, right? See how I'm talking about it that way? Connect their work to the mission. So volunteers want to know their efforts matter. We want to bridge between their task and their impact. Examples, because of your organization or your organizational skills, families move through registration really quickly and we're able to start getting food or start getting all the logistics to move into their new home or whatever it is, of whatever service. Your kindness helped our guests feel respected and welcomed, therefore making it easier for them to accept help from others when they generally don't do so, right? Things like that help smooth out the process so that whoever you're helping or serving is getting that service faster, better, etc. Now, it's not only for direct service. It could be, maybe they're a docent, or maybe they work in a theater and they're helping you up front, helping people, maybe they're an usher. Your ability to welcome and cheerfully help people find their seats keeps everybody safe and gets everybody seated on time or seated quickly so we can start our show on time every time. We really appreciate that. See how and it makes the theater going experience exceptional. And we know we're going to have more people coming back to the theater because of the work of ushers like you. See how I do that even with arts and culture organizations? You can do this. So make it timely. Build recognition into your workflow. Maybe it's a thing you do on Friday afternoons, Don't wait for perfection. Figure out a time and start doing it. Remember, a quick, heartfelt note is much better than delaying and trying to create a masterpiece. Come on, nobody wants a masterpiece. If you can keep cards in your office bag, maybe when you have a break and you're traveling, or maybe when you are out and about commuting, you can also, if you want to remember notes, you can save like office notes, like you can record a note. You can ask your coworkers to, hey, let's record. If you ever see catch a volunteer doing something, just record a quick, their name, what they did, and post it in Slack under this tag, or send it in our WhatsApp group. And I'll pick those up and transcribe them with AI, and I'll put them into a spreadsheet and I'll start writing notes. See what I'm saying? You can do this. It's not that hard. And then just, schedule your gratitude time, block it out on your calendar. This is my gratitude time. This is part of volunteer management, right? This is part of what we do. All right. Fifth thing, sound human. Nobody likes corporate messaging. Remember those posters that would have the leadership quote, and it was always dudes rowing on a river. They're all rowing together, and there's this big generic Times New Roman font. That's not what our thank you note. Volunteering is supposed to be fun. We want to make it fun. So let's make sure it's human. Share your emotion. Admit that their help relieves your stress. Mention what surprised or impressed you about them. People don't get seen as much as they should be. And then sixth, invite future connection. Let volunteers, they matter beyond the task. Encourage continuous involvement. We're lucky to have you as part of this community. We're grateful. I'm grateful we get to work alongside you. And I'm looking forward to the next time we can do this together, right? I'm not doing a heavy pitch. This is a soft pitch, right? All right. I promised I'd give you a framework. Now, let me give you my 4-step framework. 4 steps. That's all it takes. Okay. This is the formula. Step 1, to the best volunteer thank you notes. This is just a quick 4-step step. So if you have a piece of paper, pull it out, write this down. Okay. Step 1, mention the specific action. We've talked a lot about specificity during this podcast. Mention that. Second thing, describe the impact on you, on event goers, on service beneficiaries, on whoever, on other volunteers. Describe the impact. Step 3, acknowledge the person behind the action. Say, I know, I am so impressed by you and your compassion, or you and your humor, or your ability to manage a big room of people. All of this just specific to that person, and then end with a very warm expression of gratitude and maybe something a little bit about what it meant for you. Quick, 4-step, easy. Keep it short. It can be 3 to 5 sentences. That's all it takes. My follow volunteer, it was 3 sentences, literally. I just looked at it before I jumped on to record this podcast. Very, very short, but really meaningful. Perfection's not needed. And again, thoughtfulness matters. Before you don't have to write an essay. Nobody's reading essays anyway. All right. I wanted to give you some copywriting prompts as well. So I hope you still have that piece of paper out. Here's some sentence starters, okay? I noticed ... What stood out to me ... Because of your help ... You made a difference by ... I especially appreciated ... One thing I admire about you is ... Use these as prompts, not necessarily exact templates, and think about what they prompt in your mind about that person. That the best copywriting prompts do that. They don't tell you exactly what to write. They tell you what to think about what to write, right? Also, think about using I statements as well. I felt, you made me feel, I'm so, right? So don't make it generic to the organization. Our organization thanks you. No. Thank you notes are person to person. Okay? So to recap, volunteer thank you notes are personal, specific, timely, mission focused, and superhuman. Superhuman. One superhuman to another superhuman, right? The challenge for you, I'm going to give you this challenge. Write 3 volunteer thank you notes this week. Just 3. Thank at least one behind the scenes volunteer, not a superstar, not the person everybody always thanks. Somebody who is just dedicated, a calm, quiet, dedicated person. And then figure out how you're going to make this a recurring habit. Reflect on how you feel once you're done with these and you've mailed them. How do you feel? How does the action make you feel? Because I guarantee if you make this a regular part, it's like gratitude journaling, but somebody else benefits from it. How cool is that? So I also have a free tool to help you get started. If you're looking for quick ideas on how to create a meaningful thank you note, check out our free volunteer thank you letter cheat sheet. It's on our VolPro website. You'll never be stumped on what to say. And it has a little bit longer formula for you. Not better, but more involved framework and an example. So if you go to the show notes page, we have the link there. You can also go to volpro.net and then freebie volunteer thank you letter sample, freebie volunteer thank you letter sample. There's dashes in between. It's just easier. Or you could just say, just type in Google Volunteer Pro freebie volunteer letter thank you sample, and it'll probably show up. Or just go to the show notes and click on the link. Okay? Volume or volunteer thank you notes are small actions that can create big loyalty. They're also, in my mind, something that volunteers deserve. They are giving you their most precious asset, which is their time. It's much more valuable than money, what they're giving you, their time and attention. And so I think they deserve to be thanked on a regular basis for that. People may forget what they do exactly in their day-to-day tasks and during their shifts, but they will never forget the way that your organization and you in particular made them feel. And so make this part of your regular management routine. It's not an add-on. It's not an optional. It's part of what we do as leaders of volunteers, whether we do it full-time, part-time, as a volunteer, whether we supervise a team of volunteers or we engage volunteers for the entire organization. It's a worthwhile practice. So I hope this has been helpful. If you liked it, please share it with a friend or a colleague who could use a little bit of advice in this area. Also, we love star ratings, 5-star ratings, if you wouldn't mind, because that helps us find other people that are interested in the topic of volunteer engagement. So I hope you'll join me next week. I will be back with more tips, same time, same place on the Volunteer Nation. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Volunteer Nation podcast. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so that we can reach more people like you who want to improve the impact of their good cause. For more tips and notes from the show, check us out at tobijohnson.com. We'll see you next week for another installment of Volunteer Nation.